Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott Silverman, co-founder of Commerce Next. We are a community event series and conference for marketers and retail and DTC brands. On behalf of my co-founders, Veronica and Alan, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Four Steps to Journey Optimization in an Uncertain Economy. I think everyone who's listening are feeling customers pressured by inflation and looking for lower priced items. That was reinforced by yesterday's earnings announcement from Walmart and Home Depot. So we're going to talk about those customer behaviors and have an opportunity to discuss how retailers can provide the best possible journeys for these kind of behaviors and others that are going on right now. As always, we'll be taking your questions, so feel free to load them up at any time during the presentation, during the Q&A. And thank you all for tuning in, making time to join live or listen to the replay. I want to start with a few important thank yous. Most importantly, I want to thank today's speakers. Today we have Carolyn Pollock, CMO at Tailored Brands, Ryan Williams, VP of Digital at FULLBEAUTY Brands, Amy Madonia, Executive Director, Global E-Commerce at MAC Cosmetics, and Greg Dowling, Global Director of Business Insights at Glassbox. And I'd like to thank Glassbox for sponsoring today's webinar. We could not bring these weekly webinars to our audience without the support of our sponsors. And it's been a real pleasure working with Greg and the Glassbox team on the webinar. I appreciate them supporting this topic that I think is really important for our community. And finally, thank you to Maeve, Robert, Alan, Jill, Veronica, the Commerce Next team that are off screen helping to make this webinar a success. And a couple of things that are coming up. Our next webinar is in 2 weeks on Wednesday, March 8th, called How to Drive E-Commerce ROI with Fewer Web Resources. And that features Crocs, Express, Snipes, and Commerce Tools. And it's moderated by Commerce Next Chief Content Officer, Jill Dvorak. Registration is open for the e-commerce growth show, our main summit, June 20th and 21st in New York. Jill, who I mentioned earlier, she keeps confirming amazing speakers from companies like Faraday Brands, DSW, Sephora, Overstock, and more. Check out the link in the chat for more details and to register. So we have a YouTube channel. You may be aware of it. There's almost 250 videos of past webinars and sessions from our events. You can find practically any topic on there, so I encourage you to go onto that YouTube channel and see what's there and see what you can learn. Quick housekeeping note, don't worry about missing anything. We're recording the webinar. We'll make it available by tomorrow. And I want to show you a few things that are on your screen to help make the webinar more valuable to you. So first, you'll see the main console in the upper right. There's Q&A, polls, handouts, and chat. Q&A is for the speakers, and when you click on that, you can put your question in there. Those are questions you want to ask for the speakers. There is an opportunity to upvote those. So if you want to prioritize a question that you see is really interesting, you can do it that way. Chat, where there may already be a little bit of activity in the chat, but this is where you can just make a comment on some of the presentations or thank the speakers, whatever you want it to do. And then we have our polls and our handouts. So we'll get to the polls in a little bit, but the handouts, we have today's presentation and a couple other PDFs from Glassbox. So you can download all of those whenever you'd like in the handout section. And then for those that are listening to the replay, all of this is available on that bottom right area that's circled. So today's agenda, we're going to start with a presentation from Greg Dowling, 4 Steps to Journey Optimization in an Uncertain Economy. Then we have our audience poll questions, and then we'll jump into our panel discussion with our 3 panelists. So I am excited now to bring Greg Dowling to our virtual stage. Greg is Global Director of Business Insights at Glassbox. He's an expert in enterprise analytics and mobile measurement. He has 20 years of experience in the industry with a background that includes analytics leadership roles at companies like Sapient Nitro, Nokia, and Digitas. So Greg, welcome to the Commerce Next webinar stage. Thank you for joining us today.
And thank you so much, Scott, for having us and allowing Glassbox to sponsor. We are very excited to be here talking about the 4 steps to journey optimization in an uncertain economy. Really, really looking forward to it. I'm going to assume everybody can see my my screen here. So I'm going to just jump right into it. So thanks again. Welcome, everybody. Really appreciate you taking the time today. Glassbox is on a mission. So for those of you who might not be familiar with Glassbox, we are a digital experience intelligence platform empowering our customers to create frictionless digital journeys. Now, we do all of this. So you might ask, well, so how does Glassbox do all of what we do? We do this by identifying, quantifying, and resolving the sources of friction within the customer journey. Now, we leverage AI and ML to understand user struggles, to visualize the customer journey, and to optimize each and every step aligned to tangible business impact. I like to say that Glassbox is for one and all as we serve the varying needs of product, marketing, customer experience, digital analysts, DevOps, IT organizations. We do this by providing actionable insights that answer challenging business questions that other platforms, truthfully, may have difficulty answering. We don't just want our customers to know more about their customer experience. We want them to know everything about their customers' experience. Now, traditional digital analytics tools can offer up the what. I like to say that they can offer up the what in the form of how many or how often something might be occurring. For example, like a drop-off within a funnel step. But Glassbox can provide the why through session replay and advanced analytics that drive business impact, ultimately increasing customer satisfaction, revenue, and lifetime value. So that's what we do. You're going to ask, well, how do you do that? Well, we do all of this through a secure, comprehensive digital experience intelligence platform. Now, that platform facilitates the capture of all of our customers' digital journeys across both web and native mobile. And we capture 100% of sessions across 100% of devices, encompassing 100% of our customers' interactions across both client and server environments. We then provide advanced visualization tools. So after we capture, we then visualize and visualize that data. And we provide advanced visualization tools such as our journey map, our interaction maps, which provide in-page and detailed analytics. We use these visualizations to facilitate deeper analysis, providing also and leveraging AI and ML to surface automated insights across every facet of the Glassbox interface. And these actionable insights can then be used to elevate the last item here is to elevate your business performance, driving higher customer satisfaction, ultimately driving further and deeper engagement and generating additional revenue. Now, we deliver these insights and business outcomes for some of the leading global retailers. So getting to today's challenge, and thank you for bearing with me as I discussed who we are and what we do here at Glassbox. But we are certainly in uncertain economic times, and thank you, Scott. Right, I was actually thinking and listened to those earnings calls, and Walmart saying, hey, we're really concerned about inflation, and so obviously Walmart everyday low prices. They're looking to conservatively look to 2% increase year over year. Now that's conservative for them. And when asked how they were going to do that and what is the instigation for all of this, they really did quote these uncertain economic times, consumer confidence, job security, inflation, interest rate hikes, GDP contraction, housing crash. I mean, so when you think about all of these things that sort of weigh on the minds of consumers, I'm not, going towards an FCA sort of vulnerable customer approach here, but certainly there are, we need to be able to understand the psyche and sort of the makeup of what is weighing and pressing on our customers' minds as they're moving through the experiences that we've developed and delivered for them with the intention of, obviously in our context here, selling them something. And so we have this sort of we'll call them vulnerable customers, right? Where they they're currently dealing with situations that are going to be exacerbated by this uncertain economic times, and we push that in through this complex retail environment. Multi-step checkout, cross-sells, upsell opportunities at every turn. Challenges in redeeming promotions, right? Promotion redemption, breakage that occurs there. Marketing dissonance, the message that might be presented off of your site is not necessarily the same message that they're receiving when they arrive at the site. So that marketing dissonance is a real challenge for some customers, right? So, hey, I'm looking for this. You said you had this. I need to find this at this cost. You landed me here. I can't find it. Performance issues. Okay, so DevOps and IT are really sort of instrumental in making sure that the customer experience is what it's going to be, and that it's going to be a positive customer experience. Error messaging. The error messaging that most of our customers leverage, sometimes very cryptic and can be very challenging for customers to actually understand what the problem is and how they should go about rectifying it. Just behavioral struggles. So within Glassbox, we capture a good 20 plus behavioral based struggles that customers can move through. Just challenges with dead clicks, et cetera, et cetera. So these behavioral struggles are real challenges across. So voice of customer, testimonial, product reviews. It was funny. I read something the other day. Some 23% of all, 93% of all people making buying decisions are doing so because of a testimonial and product review. So all of those things combined, this complex retail environment with this, I'm feeling vulnerable, challenges in my current economic situation. We have a group of experts that are trying to solve for these problems on our website, right? And in our digital property. These experts, however, are operating in silos. So we combine this complex retail environment with uncertain economic times. We've got a team of professionals, right? Looking to solve, the situation and to ease this complex retail environment, to simplify the buying journey. However, they sort of exist in their own silo, product and customer experience, from strategy and technology, from the architect side and R&D and compliance, call centers, brick and mortar. What we're actually hoping to achieve, and the question that we all want to answer is, how can everybody see what I'm seeing, right? So while the product individual might be there looking to optimize an experience through A/B testing, or they're trying to understand the voice of the customer, that they're trying to improve and optimize that situation. So they're seeing it through their lens, which might not be the same lens that the DevOps or the performance team might be responsible for or looking at. So the challenge comes, how can I provide real-time actionable insights on every digital journey to those individuals who need it when they need it in order to provide that improvement? And so that's where Glassbox comes from and what we're trying to achieve when we think about a one-for-all sort of approach. Now, if we think about all of that in its totality and think about how can we take this forward to actually solve for journey optimization, we've put together a 4-step approach to journey optimization. The first step being the baseline. So step 1, establish your baseline. I like to call this the 4 Ds: discover, define, design, and deliver. Now, the 4 Ds is a simple approach about setting a strategy, thinking, being purposeful about measurement, and being purposeful about customer experience analytics. Right. So first thing you want to do is assess the current state and identify core issues. If you know where the struggles are occurring, let's go ahead. Let's focus on that specific area. What are we trying to solve for? Where are the struggles? Right. So we need to identify, quantify, and resolve the sources of friction. First, let's find those sources of friction. Once we've found those sources of friction and what we're trying to solve for, we need to define and establish a defined measurement framework. Now, that measurement framework is going to identify what success looks like and what are those measures of success. Once we've defined those measures of success, we need to design a data collection and data democratization capability, right? So that data collection is really, it's instrumentation. How are we going to get at this data? Where does it reside? Is it something that we can access relatively easily? Is it as simple as a button click, or is there something more behind the scenes, or maybe back end, that we need to get at, right? So where is that data? How can we get it, and how can we bring it to bear against solving our success criteria? Data democratization, we need to think about how do we present this information in a visual format that would, how can I say, make the difficult easy, right? So being able to remove the obfuscation from the data, right? And being able to generate those insights. And last, once those insights have been generated, we should have to be able to deliver that in a convincing and in a powerful manner. I mean, we don't have to all be Edward Tufte, but we need to be able to present those actionable insights and recommendations for optimization. So now we're ready to start thinking about things. And step two, we call this attacking the errors, right? Eliminate the most frequent errors when optimizing your user journey, right? So again, I go back to my identify, quantify, and resolve statement. We need to be able to identify where these friction points are happening, what some of the, I'll say the most glaring and abrupt friction points are errors within a website, right? So missing or broken content. I mean, it dead click. An image doesn't display. Entire sections of content are not present, right? That's a pretty glaring error. The second is the response error code. So these are sometimes basic, HTTP response error codes. I don't want to get too technical, but your 400 errors, your 500 errors where content, is either not available. And so where are these response errors occurring? Where's 404? Where's a 502 error occurring on what content or what screens? More specifically, where are we failing to deliver API or AJAX calls, right? So back-end functioning of our website might not be working properly. We need to be able to identify where that occurs. Okay? Then the visual errors, so I call these display errors. And so these errors that are displayed to the end user, you want to make sure that those errors are clear, number one, great, to the end user to improve their customer experience, but we can use those as hooks to find areas within our journey where we're having real problem. So if you're presenting something to somebody, a display error, and maybe that display error talks about you have not input the correct value or something like that, maybe you need to think about messaging and the content around those elements a little bit firmer. Right? And the last one that I'll talk about here is console errors. I want to say console errors, while don't traditionally present a ton of front end and UI issues, they can. And so you want to be mindful of those console errors and where they're occurring and how they're occurring, and if they are in fact affecting that front end. So first, let's set a baseline, get the 4 Ds, put a strategy in place. Second, attack the errors. Third, pain the pain. Now, what the heck does pain the pain mean? Identify and eradicate these common struggles, right? So pain is being caused to your customer, well, pain the pain. And where do you want to focus on this? Now, you want to choose your golden journeys, 2, 3 golden journeys, and make sure that you can identify every struggle that's happening across that golden journey: landing, category pages, product detail page, into the shopping cart, checkout. And something that some folks don't really take a look at is the self-service pages. Are people actually able to self-serve? Are they able to solve problems for themselves? Maybe we need to remove friction or remove struggles from the self-service pages. Strategy, errors, struggles. The last step, step 4, I'll call it look. And it's about analyzing and observing user behavior. Listen to customer feedback and make your changes accordingly. This is actually one of the strongest recommendations that I make when folks say, what should we do first? So, hey, we've just set up our session replay and our customer experience analytics platform. Where do we go to actually look at a session? How can we find one of interest, right? So your customers will tell you where the problems are. And that's exactly where you should focus. We have actually built integrations with all of the major VOC platforms. We've built our own VOC capability as well. But that is how important we feel the connection to voice of customer is to solving customer experience issues, right? So we provide deep link capability within your VOC platform. You can go in, conduct all of your necessary segmentation, filters, and figure out exactly where the problems are from a voice of customer perspective, and go straight through to see those exact sessions. And for veracity's sake, right, understand. So they said the site was really terrible, but my gosh, they looked like they went through 4 clicks through the checkout. That's a record. And the success was no problem at all. Maybe there's something deeper. Or you're going to, hey, your site is the worst thing that I've ever seen, right? And so let's see why they said that. Where were they having struggles? Where were they having these problems? That's what we mean by lurking. Now, you can also capture that VOC and bring it right into your customer experience analytics platform so that you can filter, search for, let me see those that had a customer satisfaction level below 5, etc., right? NPS score of 1, and be able to filter and segment to understand where you should be focusing throughout your optimization efforts of the customer journey. Chatbots, customer support and call center, A/B testing, social media. Essentially, make sure that you are lurking, and thinking about and analyzing and observing user behavior. All of those things sound great. How do they actually play out? And so here's a case study of a North American fashion brand, billion-dollar digital online presence. They're planning to do a 10% improvement in 2023. And as part of that, they said, hey, we need to get folks using our native mobile application. So let's go to a brick and mortar. Let's pass out these cards with the QR code to scan and download our app, as well as a printed promotional code, right? So that launched, everything is great. The business intelligence team, BI, is like, oh my gosh, hey, we're seeing a lot of breakage, 30% or more breakage here. This isn't good. And so they went into the journey. They saw where that breakage was happening, and they saw that it was during that promo redemption. They went through, they look at the replay, they saw the bad API call that was being made, and people were entering in that their promo code incorrectly printed. No, wait, it wasn't incorrectly printed. It was the API error. It was an API, and it was intermittent, and they had very, very challenging. It was only coming from certain servers in certain geographic locations, but they were able to find it. I wouldn't say it's a needle in a haystack, but they were able to find it, saving them on $30,000 a day, roughly $11 million annually. Okay, so what? You say, so what? Well, so journey centricity leads to higher revenue, lower costs, and better customer loyalty. I don't say it. We don't say it. Forrester says it. Up to 20% revenue increase from those firms who use a customer journey at scale approach, right? And a 25% cost reduction, a 40% improvement in customer advocacy. And you have to ask yourself, are you ready to start journey optimization? And if so, I don't know, maybe Scott, is this downloadable ebook available within the handout section, or will they need to go to Glassbox to download it?
Hey everyone, I'm Alan Dick from Commerce Next. I am Scott's stunt double in the event that he has some problems. He will be back on as soon as he can join. But Greg, to answer your question, yeah, all of the handouts are available for download. We'd recommend that the folks take a look at those. There's some good information there. Also wanted to say that audience, so there's a lot of you here today, getting some people from Europe and Ukraine and just all over the place. So yeah, it's great to have you all here. Please, this is the time for you guys to ask questions. Jump on in and do that. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us to our polls. And so let's us begin. So question number 1. Let's pick up on the theme of the discussion so far today. Do you agree that customer journeys are different due to the economic challenges they're facing? Do you strongly agree, slightly agree, neither agree nor disagree, slightly disagree, or strongly disagree? So let's take a look and see how we are doing here. We're taking a look at these poll results. Strongly agree, 25 folks, 45%. That is solid. Slightly agree, another 45%. Yeah, definitely skewing towards the customer journeys are very, very different. All right, let's move on to our next question. Question number 2. What areas below are you investing the most in 2023? You can select up to 3. We have landing pages, category pages, product detail pages, shopping cart, checkout flow, self-service pages, or if you got something else you're investing in, you can toss that into the chat. We always like to hear what you have to say. And it looks like checkout flow takes the win with 24%. Product detail pages right behind it at 22%. Landing pages at 20%, followed by shopping cart category pages. Looks like self-service pages come in last there with the 6%. All right. Thank you for answering that. So let's take a look. Just a reminder to everyone, Jill is back on Wednesday, March 8th, with How to Drive E-Commerce ROI with Fewer Website Resources. We're going to have folks from Crocs, Snipes, Express, and Content Square with us. Oh, Scott, I see you're on the screen. How's the audio doing?
You tell me. How's it going?
It's awesome, man.
All right. Excellent.
I'm outta
Thank you,
here.
Alan, for jumping
No
in.
worries.
All right. So, yeah, why don't we go to our last polling question that's set up for our upcoming webinar on March 8th. What metrics do you use to help prioritize and plan website optimizations? Select as many as you use. It must relate directly to widely known corporate-wide goal. It's just straight ROI, small amount of effort, and we can get it to a sprint soon. Risk cost versus reward analysis, ranking system based on cost of not doing something. Senior management decided and told us, I guess the HIPPO method, hard to prioritize, we play whack-a-mole here, or other, and you can put that in the chat. Bring up our panel and get into our panel discussion. So Ryan, Amy, Carolyn, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you guys being here. So first thing I wanted to do is just ask you all to, please introduce yourselves, your company, and your current role. So we'll start with Ryan, and then we'll go to Carolyn and then Amy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan. I lead digital experience at FULLBEAUTY, which makes me responsible for site conversion and other performance KPIs. For those of you that don't know or aren't familiar, FULLBEAUTY operates a portfolio of 14 different brands specializing in plus and extended plus size women's apparel, men's big and tall clothing, and home goods. We're a direct-to-consumer business servicing customers through our online store and our catalog-supported call center. We believe in empowering people of all shapes and sizes to feel comfortable, stylish, and confident.
All right. Thank you. Carolyn?
Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. I'm Carolyn Pollock. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Taylor Brands. We are a specialty menswear retailer. Included in our portfolio of brands are Men's Warehouse, Joseph A. Bank, K&G down in the South, and also Moores in Canada. And we focus on helping people love the way they look and feel for their most important moments. And I'm really excited to talk with you all today about the customer journey.
And Amy.
Thanks, Scott. My name's Amy Madonia. I'm the Executive Director for Global E-Commerce for MAC Cosmetics, which is part of Estée Lauder Companies. So we're a makeup brand sold cross-category and globally in pretty much all classes of trade. And my responsibility is online strategy and digital experience. So includes apps, includes some of the tech we have in stores, including technology innovations like virtual try-on that we have on our sites. I also have responsibility for SEO and some of our traffic analysis.
Great, great. So I wanted to start, I mentioned earlier, part of what was driving this webinar is that we're seeing a lot of unique customer behavior driven by pressure on consumers from inflation and economic uncertainty. And I'd like to have each of you talk about what you're seeing in your own businesses. And Amy, why don't we start with you? I get, it could be from whenever you feel like the news started really kind of dwelling on the economic uncertainty, whether that was kind of late in 2022 or after holiday, however, wherever you felt like you saw some differences.
Sure. So going back into probably mid-year of 2022, we've been challenged with conversion rate. We took a pretty significant price increase last year due to inflation and our own costs increasing. That said, since the turn of the calendar year, we are seeing our traffic trends improve and moderate somewhat. And so MAC is a brand that we have many launches throughout the year. We're still pushing our newness as we always do.
And Carolyn, what are you seeing at Tailored Brands?
Well, and a lot of our business focuses on special occasions, and often the most special of occasions being somebody's wedding. And fortunately, even when inflation is higher, love is not canceled and people are still getting married. And so that's fantastic. But we do see customers being a little more cautious, a little more wanting to be informed and making a little bit more value-driven decisions. So for that, we really focus on how we're driving the quality of not only the clothes that they purchase or rent from us, but also the experience itself.
Great. And how about Greg at FULLBEAUTY Brands? Or sorry, Ryan at FULLBEAUTY Brands.
Yeah, no problem, Scott. I would say, for those of you that saw Walmart's earnings yesterday and some of their guidance, I think everyone in retail is probably wise to take a conservative outlook on the year. I can say, based on what we're seeing, we're increasingly seeing the customer working to make her dollar really work for her. That's we're seeing that play out in conversion. We're seeing that play out in return rates in some areas. So we're playing a little bit of defense, but there's still opportunity to play offense.
Great. So I think it's pretty clear there's a lot of different consumer behaviors that we're experiencing, and we saw that in the polling question as well. We're going to kind of dig into, customer journeys and optimizing those. But before we do, Carolyn, as a CMO, you kind of have a unique role among the panelists here. I mean, you're ultimately responsible for building and nourishing the Men's Warehouse and the Joseph A. Banks brands. From your perspective, how do you see customer journeys impacting your ability to, build and nourish these brands? Where does that come into play?
Yeah, I mean, it's so critical for us because a big part of what our brands stand for is the service and expertise that we bring as a company and that our consultants in our stores bring to every customer. So we pay a ton of attention to all the different stages of that customer journey, whether they're online or whether they're in store, and making sure that, everything from how do we learn from the customer why they've come to us and what they're needing us for, to how we then cater the recommendations that we provide to them, and really, whether you're online or in store, providing that high touch, personalized experience as much as we can.
So, we've kind of established in a few different ways that shoppers or customers are shopping different, and I want to get a read from the panelists. When you have shoppers that are, interested more in what's on sale, they're bargain seeking, these customers may or may not have the same high lifetime value as customers that are engaged in behaviors where they're not seeking, maybe there's an urgency for them to buy something, or they're just not price sensitive for some reason. But, knowing that a lot of the customers are looking for bargains and looking to spend less, what's your point of view of all of you on how do you cater to that? Do you prioritize that behavior, or do you really try to direct them in some other places? So I don't know, Ryan, I'll start with you.
Sure. I would say I really push back on anyone who tries to discount the discount customer. I like a value. I could be accused of being a discount customer. I think all smart consumers, and increasingly, the consumer is going to be working this year just as hard to find value as we are to try to match her with our value. So I think that we really lean in to the value proposition here at Full Beauty, and on the flip side is, so one of the challenges is how do you then retain that customer and turn them into a high value customer? I know that there's a notion out there that a deal hunter is a lower lifetime value. I've not seen that in the numbers. I think that you have to work to convert that one-time buyer into a two-time buyer. Sometimes you have to offer that two-time buyer, that prospective two-time buyer, as much value as you offered her the first time. And in free market capitalism, that's just how it's going to work sometimes.
Yeah, Amy, I see you nodding your head, so I want to have you weigh in.
Well said, Ryan. Well said. And, as somebody who works on our online brand strategy globally, we want to win share, plainly put, and we want to make sure that our brand is positioned to do so across channels and anywhere digitally you might find the MAC brand. So we're certainly going to accommodate any journey, and we have the processes in place to ensure profitable growth. The other thing I'll say is that we're lucky as a brand that our products are very efficacious and high performing. They were developed by two makeup artists in Canada who were not finding a sufficient product on the market to withstand the rigors of fashion runway. And so they developed MAC in response to that. And so, we're known for lipstick and foundation, and those products luckily perform better for consumers globally, than what's on the market for those categories.
I mean, I think I heard Neiman Marcus CEO quoted as saying they only want to cater to rich customers. So what I'm hearing here is that that's not the what you're all looking for. So or the direction that you're all going. So
and Scott, I'll add to that. MAC's a brand that's about inclusion, so that would certainly be against our brand promise and DNA.
All right, so want to move on to another topic, or actually, I'll stop. And Greg, I mean, you work with a whole wide variety of clients, targeting different sectors. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, or you seem to.
Absolutely, I do. I think what we're seeing, I think, resonates with exactly what is being stated here. We're seeing usage of not discount shopping, right? But the usage of promo codes has increased almost 20% across the board for a lot of our retail customers, right? So something that is indicative of maybe, and it's like they actually didn't put more promo codes out there. There's just a higher usage, meaning that there are more people looking for the discounts and they're seeking them out and they're applying them, as opposed to just letting the breakage occur. Also, we're seeing folks look for alternative payment methods, right? And so this is a sharp increase in usage of these alternative payment methods and the ability to pay over time, or to use a non-standard payment method, right? So the retailer's payment method of choice might not be theirs, and so being able to offer multiple payment methods, we're seeing as a strong recommendation, for our customers. That they're seeing a lot of uptick and a lot of usage in those alternative payment methods. So I think price sensitivity manifests itself in shoppers trying to save money, not just coming in and only shopping or converting on the cheaper items, but trying everything that they can to take advantage of the situation and price sensitivity. So.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a question come in from Elizabeth Ragone, and I think maybe what you suggested, Greg, is one of the answers to that. But are there different tactics to convert the value customer, aside from promotions or discounts? And what's a way to keep that customer coming back? And Carolyn, you were mentioning, you're kind of focusing on the quality of product. Or maybe I'll start with you if you have any other suggestions or ideas for Elizabeth or anyone else listening of, how do you convert that value customer?
Yeah, and I think to what Amy's saying too, like all customers are valuable to us, and I I think for those that are looking for more value or are more price oriented, absolutely we need to make sure that for those people that we know are motivated by that, we're leveraging the knowledge of that to send them more personalized communication around discounts that we've got, product that is at a lower price. But we also really strive to make sure that the pricing of our products across the board is not only competitive, but continues to reinforce the great value that we deliver between the price and the quality. So making sure that we're showing up with that. And I think what we'll experiment a little bit more with this year is just sort of where price sits in the hierarchy of our communication. We didn't talk about price a lot at all last year, and I think it may play a bit more of a role this year. But for us, it is still about primarily those special occasions. And I think, when someone's looking for their wedding attire and all that, price is a factor, but it's not the only factor. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind in all of our communications.
Any other thoughts from the panel?
I would say that there's other levers besides just dollar discounts. And Carolyn touched on service, and she said the words high touch service earlier. And that's something that we focus on. There's also convenience. We offer our consumers a host of different ways to get their product from us in a DTC capacity, whether that's same day delivery via Postmates, overnight. And we have our freestanding stores, and we're working on ultimate payment methods. We already offer those, but these are other levers that you can use to provide value along the service and convenience spectrum.
All right. Well, great suggestions from everyone. Thank you. We've been talking a lot about a whole number of areas where you can optimize, and I think Greg did a good job of highlighting some of the areas where there can be errors or things are broken or just need to be fine-tuned. So my question is that it's easy to get caught up in, I think, in a laundry list of existing things that you need to fix and optimize. But if you take a step back, is there a risk that you can focus too much on this to the expense of not taking big swings on new ideas or trying to innovate or identify, some unmet customer need? So maybe Carolyn, I'll start with you on that.
Yeah, and I think more important than ever when times are a little tougher, that you're finding the right places to invest and make sure that you're continuing to deliver on that customer experience, because that will be what ultimately helps serve your brand and to differentiate your brand. One of the things as we cater to that wedding customer, anyone who has planned a wedding, there's a whole lot involved in that. And we recognize that, our part in that is a smaller piece, but a very important piece. And whatever we can do to ease that planning, we believe really helps add value to the overall experience. So we're in the middle of test marketing a tool that we'll be rolling out nationally this year that allows customers to effectively be consulted, whether it's online or in the store, in a way that mimics sort of the in-person interview that we do with our customers, and allows them to visually navigate through choices to align their wedding style and their sort of overall feel for their wedding, and align it with the assortment that we have, whether that's something they want to rent or to buy or even to customize to make it more their own. And that allows us to learn more about the customer themselves and gather that data so that we can serve them in a more personalized way going forward. But it also allows the customer to navigate that assortment, narrow down their choices, and help them get to a decision faster, so that whether they do that online and end-to-end complete their transaction online, or whether they then take that information with them into our stores or do it in our store, they're that much further down the path, and enables our experts to help serve them that much better. So I think, finding ways to invest in understanding why your customer's coming to you, showing that you understand that, reflecting that, and using your expertise to show how you can serve them better uniquely is an important part of solving that journey.
And Ryan, I know you've mentioned, some experimentation you've been doing with things like ChatGPT. So I'm assuming you have a perspective on the importance of taking big swings.
Yeah, we take big swings in in a lot of little ways. We end up placing. We're a big fan of placing a bunch of little bets, but doing so going into it with the intent. If this connects, how do we scale up? We've got a phrase that we use here at Full Beauty. If you're not testing, you're guessing. And that's a horrible rhyme, but maybe a good piece of advice. So our portfolio and our roadmap, we've got the big important things, some of the must-do compliance things, some of the big vendor shift things, and we allocate resources long-term for those, but we also reserve a significant portion of capacity against keeping our knees bent and going after ideas that come up, I think, honestly, from watching the consumer and listening to feedback.
Greg, any thoughts? Again, as you seeing this from a whole wide array of clients that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most successful organizations that we see are those that ascribe value, right, to the customer experience and to customer experience improvements, and they're able to do that via testing and optimization, and they're able to align recommendations for improvements or changes to the user experience to this will either generate revenue for us or this will provide cost savings for us. This also resonates really well with the finance department in most organizations when you want to start to ask for money to do things, and you'll find that if you can say that the ROI on this particular change or optimization is going to be a 2x, 3x, et cetera, on conversion rate, or even give them a real dollar number, the things are going to resonate with them, and you're probably going to get things pushed forward. Again, we're really strong proponents here at Glassbox of ascribing that value to the customer experience. We do that in many areas across our solution, primarily by understanding the cost associated with the struggles that we see and capture. So we're able to then also align to core web vitals, for example, and understand that, hey, if you're going to take this and improve your some of your web your web SEO optimizations, you're going to generate a revenue opportunity and potential additional input.
Well, Greg, you mentioned getting buy-in and money to be blunt from finance and CFOs for new initiatives, and kind of continuing on this theme of innovation and experimentation. This idea of building relationships with finance to fund new ideas. I feel like I've been hearing that more lately in the last 6 months or so than I have for a while. And so I wanted to, when it comes to customer journeys, there's again a lot of new opportunities, new ideas that can be implemented. So I wanted to kind of dig a little bit into that aspect of it, the internal buy-in. And Amy, I on the prep call, you mentioned that you have seem to have a really good relationship with finance, but you've had to win over other folks in the organization to a vision that you have for a customer journey or a new initiative. So maybe I'll start with you about if you do have a good relationship with finance, what do you attribute that to? What do you think makes that happen? And then I'd like to hear from the other folks and how they any recommendations they have for building these kind of relationships with finance.
Sure, I'd be happy to share my approach, and hopefully this is helpful to folks that are watching and listening. I've been able to replicate this across companies and have always had very good relationships with my finance partners. And part of this comes from, I think, the approach that I take in understanding and thinking about how their remit and their role is going to look at things. So they're in the world of making investment decisions, making dollar allocation decisions, trying to make smart bets, because in many ways, the world of competition is, a resource game. Who is applying the resources they have in the best way to move the business forward? So knowing that we have the benefit as e-commerce professionals of numbers, I will bring them numbers, and I will be very frank about, my confidence level on an ROI. And when I've talked to people about this, folks are often very weary of kind of going down the rabbit hole of technology with their finance partners. And I think that's where the nuance is important, and you have to walk the line between answering their question and satisfying them about something they may know little about technically, and helping them get to the answer of, is this a good way to spend our money or not? And how confident are we can get XYZ results, and what are XYZ results? And then coming back to them and proving a test case out or two in order to earn that trust and earn that respect. So, that's how I approach finance, with that, mindset of their perspective and how they're looking at things in their role. As far as other players cross-functionally, it's often about socialization of an idea or a vision, and making sure that you're bringing all of the alternative viewpoints in, and taking input and allowing your vision or your plan to be kind of co-owned across the organization, and also allowing it to kind of evolve and take shape as you're taking in the different perspectives of folks that you work with.
And Carolyn and Ryan, any thoughts on how you build these relationships with finance? How do you get the funds to move ahead with some new ideas?
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint, I mean, it's obviously critical to have a solid relationship with finance, especially as you get into performance marketing, where you want things to be running based on the profitability that they're delivering, not just a set budget potentially. So I think helping build the confidence with your finance partners that you have the data, you've got line of sight to how the spend ties to the results, I think is very important. That data, when you look at incremental investments, making sure you take that same data and information, building out sort of estimated ROIs and where it makes sense, as Amy says, like testing it to validate, and being really clear on where your assumptions are. And making sure that, everyone buys into, okay, well, these are sort of the variables, or these are the assumptions that we're making. Here's what we can test and validate within that. And then the last thing I'll say is just making sure you've got the whole picture. So something that we've tried to get a lot better at is making sure that we're not just looking at like the dollars, but it takes to deliver on a new project or initiative, but the people and the resources that it takes as well, because there is ultimately a cost associated with that. And whether you're tasking full-time employees to be engaged, or whether you're bringing in outside support and consultants, that's part of the whole picture that you're delivering. And I think just giving that whole picture and being as upfront with what you know, what you don't know, really builds that trust with your finance partner.
Just real quick, and I want to be kind of careful. Every company is different, and they're all made of people. So I don't know that there's ever going to be a single silver bullet here. I would say it's generally good to make sure that you're always developing a reputation for managing for profitability, just as a solid foundation for any corporate leadership. And then the approach that we take as often as we possibly can is that it's always easier if you can trial an idea with something small enough that you don't have to get a tremendous amount of buy-in, and that you can prove out an idea. The nice thing there is if it doesn't work, not a whole lot of people know. But then if it does work, then you can use that as a foundation for scaling and getting bigger buy-in.
All right, so we are going to start to wrap up, and what I want to do is have each of the panelists talk about, a thought or a recommendation, so that the audience can walk away from this webinar with an action item or an idea that they can go and put to work in their own companies. So I'm going to start with Amy. If you have a thought or two, what do you recommend to the audience? So when we're talking about customer journeys and what you want to optimize for, what do you recommend to the audience?
when it comes to journey optimization, what I would say is focus on your hero journeys and what are the main things consumers are trying to achieve, and make sure that you perfect those. For us, when it comes to our direct-to-consumer brand sites, the 40+ instances of Mac.com we have, it's about 4 things. It's about replenishing product. Okay, I want to get my foundation refilled. And how do we perfect that journey, and what are the different ways that happens around the site? Or 2, I'm looking for just product info. I may not even buy from maccosmetics.com, but I just need to understand the reviews on XYZ product, for example. About the brand, is Mac a social responsible brand? And then lastly, is there an offer or a Mac store near me that I need to find? So we're facilitating those journeys and perfecting those journeys is a good way to make sure that you're not getting kind of lost in any fringe use case, and really focusing where you're going to get a lot of progress for your efforts.
Carolyn?
Yeah, I think with whether it's a high consideration purchase or not, often customers are coming to you seeking information before they make a purchase. And I think where you can play a role in building their confidence that you've got the right products for them is that sort of interview question type approach up front. So we found great success with whether it's quizzes or whether it's what we're introducing with this new tool around questions. Using that as a way to bring a customer in, give them that confidence that you've got the right products for them. You can leverage that on social as a poll, as a way to engage people further up the funnel. Making it really visual helps a ton because people react a lot more strongly to photos and imagery. And really then taking those results and the data that you get from that and turning that into information that you can then use to deliver a more personalized and relevant experience to the customer as you go forward in the journey with them.
And Ryan?
Scott, you mentioned Chat GPT earlier. I think my walkaway is, when you think about customer journey optimization, watching the customer's behavior is important, but also making sure that you're listening to the customer and their feedback. There are a lot of different tools out there to gather the information. Glassbox has an interesting one, which we covered earlier. But one of the things that can be a challenge at times is that you can have a wealth of data and sort of a drought of knowledge. And what we have found is that whether you're looking at survey data or other ways of gathering customer information, when you get to the lowest level of granularity, a lot of times you end up with a lot of directly written customer comments. Sometimes they're called verbatims, and reading 1 or 2 is interesting, but not particularly insightful because you're not getting an aggregate sense. And then it's reading hundreds, if not more, comments is there's a lot of calorie burn, and it's still sort of difficult to see the forest through the trees. So what we found is you could go right into Chat GPT. You can type, hey, review this customer feedback and tell me what these customers are having problems with, and then just paste a whole list of direct customer verbatims, and it'll spit out. It'll say they're complaining about this, or they're worried about this, or they're having trouble with this, and then you can continue to have a dialogue around, okay, well, what do I need to do in order to best address item 1, 2, or 3? Doesn't always work, but it can be half entertaining and usually pretty insightful.
Great. And finally, Greg.
Fun stuff, Ryan. Yeah, so we're playing with ChatGPT too, and imagine if you had all of the struggle information about that individual user's journey to then plug that into ChatGPT, so it knows what the problem was that individual was having when he said what he said. What I want to just stick on something that Ryan said, not ChatGPT, but always be testing, right? So make sure that your best bet for journey optimization is testing and optimization. And that's the way to deliver that. If you can couple that with real-time session replay, now you've got a multivariate or an A/B testing experiment that you can actually watch users move through in real time. It's like having a virtual usability lab real time.
Awesome. Well, Greg, Ryan, Carolyn, Amy, thank you so much for being a part of the webinar today, sharing your insights and experiences and some advice for all of our audience. Really appreciate you making the time to do that. We will be back on March 8th for our next webinar on how to drive e-commerce ROI with fewer resources, kind of hearing a theme on these webinars around the economic situation we're all facing. But thank you all again. Have a great rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you again at a future event or at our next webinar on March 8th. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. My pleasure.